By default, a method executes in top to bottom approach. That means when you call a method, all the statements of that method execute in top to bottom approach. In case if you want to control the program execution flow, then you require to use the control statements. The agenda for the rest of the lectures of this section is introducing the control statements, understanding the all forms of if, switch case, while, do while, for, break, continue, nested for, and go to. So control statement is a statement using which you can control the program execution flow. Suppose you have a bunch of statements in a method. By default, it will start with the first statement of the method. After executing the first statement, it will move to the second statement, then third statement, and so on. Suppose you want to control the program execution flow. Suppose you want to jump forward or backward. So for controlling the control of execution, you require to use the control statements. For example, using a control statement, you can jump forward. Suppose after the first statement, you want to jump directly to the fourth statement. Or if needed, you can also jump backward. Suppose after reaching to fourth statement, you want to go back to the first statement. So either for jumping forward or backward, you require to use the control statements. The statements that help you to jump forward are called as conditional control statements, that is if and switch case. Inside if, we have four types, that is simple if else if, and nested if. For jumping backward, you have looping control statements, that means use it to execute the code repeatedly. Those are while, do while, and for. And separately, we have jumping control statements, but you can understand how the jumping control statements execute only after completion of looping control statements. So first let us start with the simple if. So if we have a condition and then we have a true block. The block begins with the opening brace and ends with the closing brace. So this is called as true block. This will execute only when the condition is true. So we begin with the simple if and we check the condition. If the condition is true, the true block will execute and then reach to end of the if. That means proceed to the next statement after if. But in case if the condition is false, it will skip executing the true block. That means no block will be executed here. Directly go to end of if. That means proceed to next statement after if. Suppose in a weather application, you want to display the weather information of the current day only after loading the data from the server. So you want to display some output only when the condition is true, that is only when the data is loaded from the server. For that case, we have to use simple if. This is the quick example of simple if, where we are checking the condition, and if the condition is true, this particular block of the program will execute, otherwise this block will be skipped. So I am trying to demonstrate the simple if. I am declaring a variable to store marks of the student. For example, marks equal to 45. I wish to display congratulations message when the student is passed. And I am assuming the pass marks is 35. So I am checking if marks is greater than or equal to 35. Then I wish to display the message congratulations. Otherwise we display nothing. So first it will start with the main method, then declares a variable called marks, and then checks the condition. As the condition is true, that is marks is 45, it will enter into the true block. It will execute all the statements that are present under true block, and then it will go to end of the if, that is the next statement after the if. So finally we will get the message called congratulations. Not only this statement, it will execute all the statements that are present under the true block. It can be one or more. But in case if the condition is false, the complete true block will be skipped. Simply it will go to the next statement that is present after if. That is the read key statement in this case. So we run the application and we got the congratulations message because marks are 45. So the condition is true. But in case if the condition is false, for example when marks is 25, then we are not getting any message because the condition is false. In that case, the true block will be skipped. So executing a block only when the condition is true. For that case only we have to use the simple if. Now coming to if else. It contains two blocks, that is the true block and false block. If the condition is true, the true block will execute. If the condition is false, the false block will execute. So it is guaranteed that either of the blocks only will execute. So we begin with the if else. We are checking the condition. If the condition is true, the true block executes and then reach to end of the if. In case if the condition is false, we go to the false block and then reach to end of the if. Suppose in a real-world application, in the login form, user has entered the username and password and click on login button. So there are two possibilities. If the username and password is correct, you wish to redirect to another page. But in case if the username and password doesn't match, you wish to display the message to the user saying that invalid username or password. So you have two cases, that is either true or false. So if the username and password is valid, you will have some code. If the username and password is incorrect, you have some other code. So for this case, if else is suitable. This is a quick example on if else, where you have one condition. If the condition is true, the first block will execute, otherwise the second block. You can understand the else as otherwise. So here also we declare a variable to store marks of the student, and I want to print message either congratulations or better luck next time, depending on the student result, depending on the secured marks of the student. So if marks are greater than or equal to 35, in this case the student has passed, so we display the message congratulations. Otherwise, we display the message better luck next time. As of now, the condition is true. So first we start with the main method, then declare a variable called marks equal to 70, then checking the condition is true. In that case, the true block will execute. That means the congratulations message will be shown to the user. And the else part will be skipped. And after the true block, it will go to the next statement that is present after the if. That is read key statement in this case. So we got the message congratulations because the condition is true. But in case if the condition is false, for example I make it 24, so the condition is false, at that time we got better luck next time message because the condition is false, so at that time it executes only the else block. So when you have only two possibilities, either condition is true or false, then only you will use the if else. Now coming to the else if. In case of else if, the condition 2 will be checked only when the condition 1 is false. In fact, you can write multiple else if also. For example, you can repeat writing else if condition 3, else if condition 4 and so on. Every else if will have its own block. Suppose we have 4 or 5 conditions like this. The subsequent condition will be checked only when the previous condition is false. In case if the previous condition is true, the respect to true block will execute. At that time, the subsequent condition will not be checked. But overall, if all the conditions are false, then only it will execute the else block, that is the false block. So first we are checking the condition 1. If the condition 1 is true, the true block of first condition will be executed and then reach to end of the if statement. In case if the condition is false, then we check the second condition. The second condition also may be either true or false. In case if the condition 2 is true, the true block of second condition will be executed and then reach to end of the if. In case if the condition 2 is also false, then it executes the else block, that is the false block, and then finally reach to end of the if. So here the biggest clue is the condition 2 will be checked only when the condition 1 is false. So what happens if all the conditions are true? Only the first true block will be executed. The remaining true blocks will not execute because the subsequent conditions will not be checked when the condition 1 is true. And if all the conditions are false, the else block will execute. So in a real world application, suppose in a weather application, you wish to display the weather icon based on the current weather status. Suppose if it is rainy, you wish to display the rainy icon. If it is sunny, you want to display the sunny icon. Or it may be snow, it may be some other case. So you have multiple cases to be checked one after another. For this case, you wish to use else if. This is the quick example of else if. So you have a first condition to check. If the condition is true, the first true block will execute. All remaining code will not be executed. In case if the first condition is false, then only we check the second condition. And if the second condition is true, the true block, otherwise the false block will execute. You can write any number of else if. But don't forget to write the else keyword here. Because if you skip writing else, this will become as individual if. That means this part will be simple if alone without having any relation to the previous if. Suppose your goal is you wish to identify the grade of the student based on the secured marks of the student. So we have a variable called marks that assigns to some default value, for example 70. You may wonder how to accept the values from the keyboard. I will show read in the inputs from the user by using readLine statement later in the further sections, because it requires the knowledge of type conversion. So I declare another variable called grade letter to store the grade of the student, either A, B, C, D, etc. For example, if the marks are greater than or equal to 85, then we assume as O grade, that means outstanding grade. If it is between 60 to 85, then we assume it as A grade. If it is between 50 to 60, then it is assumed as a B grade. And if it is between 35 to 50, it is assumed as a C grade. Otherwise, it is taken as F grade. That means fail. This grade system is my just assumption. You can take any grade system of your choice. So I am checking if marks are greater than or equal to 85. In that case, the grade letter should be O. If it is not greater than or equal to 85, again we are checking the second condition, that is, if it is between 60 to 85, then grade letter is A. Oops, for the character data type you require to use the single quotes but not double quotes. And even the second condition is false. In that case, again I am checking if it is between 50 to 60, then grade letter equal to B. Even this condition also false, then I am checking another condition, that is, if the marks are in between 35 to 50, In that case, the grade letter equal to C. And since the true block or false block is having only one statement, the braces are optional here. If all the conditions are false, then only the grade letter will be F. So no need of checking the condition in the last case. As of now, the marks equal to 70. So the first condition is false. The second condition will be checked. And the second condition is true. At that time, grade letter is taken as A. And then it will not check any of the remaining conditions. Completely all this part will be skipped. It will go to the subsequent statement, that is read key statement in this case. And finally, we are displaying the value of grade letter. So we got the output as A because the marks are 70. But if the marks are 45, for example, then we got the output as C. So in this case, the first condition is false, then it will go to the second condition. Even the second condition also false. Then it will go to the third condition. Third condition also false. Then it will go to the fourth condition. The fourth condition is true, that's why the grade letter is taken as C. And then the else part will be skipped. So it will go to the next statement, that is the right line statement. So in that way we got the output as C. So whenever you have multiple cases or multiple conditions to check in a sequential order one after another, and you want to execute either of those cases only, then you will go for the else if. Now coming to the nested if. Whenever you write if inside another if, we have to call it as nested if. The if that is present inside another if is called as inner if. The point here is first outer if condition will be checked and the inner if will be checked only when the outer if condition is true. That means even though the condition 2 is true, but the condition 1 is false, the true block of condition 2 will not be executed because the condition 1 is false, so it will directly jump to the else block of the condition 1. So first we begin with the nested if. We check the condition 1, that is the outer if. If the outer if is false, directly it will go to the false block 1. And if the outer if is true, then we check the inner if. The inner if also can be either true or false. If the condition 2 is true, then we execute the true block of inner if. In case if the inner if condition also false, then we execute the false block of inner if. So checking the inner if condition only when the outer if condition is true is the main point of nested if. For example, in a real-time scenario, you have to calculate the withholding tax of the employee. So first you want to check the category of the job. After checking the job category, then only you want to check the actual earnings of the employee. For this case, we use nested if. This is the quick example of nested if, where we have outer if. If the outer if is true, then only we check the inner if. Of course, you can write another if inside the else block of outer if also. This is the previous program of else if, and I want to convert the same into nested if, bringing the same output and without changing the grade system. So first I am checking the condition in case if the marks are greater than or equal to 35. And then I am checking the marks. If the marks are greater than or equal to 85, then O grade. If it is between 60 to 85, then A grade. If it is between 50 to 60, then B grade. Otherwise, we can directly assign as a C grade. Because think about marks. If marks are greater than or equal to 35, but all these conditions are false, then it means it is between 35 to 50. So directly we can assign it as C grade. and this is the else of outref. So if the outref is false, then directly we can assign as F grade. So here also output and functionality will be same as the previous example, but this time we have used a nested if. So whenever you write if inside another if, we have to call it as nested if. That means the inner if condition will be checked only when the outer if condition is true. This is all about all forms of if in C#.